Alright guys, so here's another example. What is the area of the region bound by the graphs of f of x equals the square root of x minus 2 and g of x equals 14 minus x? And they gave us one of our bounds, x equals 2, which is kind of nice. Remember earlier they did give us the two bounds. Here they're only given one. But we can solve for the other by setting them equal to each other. So we're going to have the square root of x minus 2 equals 14 minus x. And I did this problem just because I figured you guys would want to see something with the square root and you'd have questions on that later. So how do we solve this? Well, to get rid of the square root, we can go ahead and square both sides. So that means on this right side, we're going to have to expand and FOIL it, getting us 14 times 14 is 196 minus 28x plus x squared equals x minus 2. And then just since it's a quadratic, we're going to end up with two solutions, or up to two solutions. And so let's move everything to one side, and we can either factor or use the quadratic formula. So what multiplies to 198 and adds to negative 29? That would be negative 11 and negative 18. Kind of crazy. Don't ask me how I know that. Honestly, I just plugged it into Desmos. So x equals 11 and 18. Now, here's the thing. They gave us one of the bounds. Which of these two bounds are we going to use? Well, let's just test them real quick. If we plug in the 11 to both of these, see if it works for both of them. So plugging in an 11, square root of 11 minus 2, square root of 9 is 3. And over here, 14 minus 11 is 3. So that one checks off. So 11 checks off. That's good to go. Now let's try the 18. Square root of 18 minus 2 is the square root of 16, which is 4. And then over here, 14 minus 18 would be negative 4. So that doesn't check off. So that means that we are going to roll with the 11. So let's go ahead and figure out which one is our top function. So we'll put f of x on the top, g of x on the bottom, and we're just going to test and see which one's greater than the other. And we're going from 2 to 11. So I'm going to pick a number that's easy to test that we know we can square root. So if I plug in a 6, 6 minus 2 is 4. So let's try 6, f of 6. That would be the easiest one to do. So f of 6, and you could pick technically any number between 2 and 11. But I'm going to pick this one because it's going to work out easily. So square root of 6 minus 2 is the square root of 4, which is 2. And then now to try for g of x, we'll do g of 6, which will be 14 minus 6, getting us 8. So g of x is going to be our top function in this one. So we're going to set up our integral from 2 to 11 of 14 minus x minus the square root of x minus 2. So to me, I think what's going to be easier just to divide this up, because technically there's an inner function on this one, so we have to do u substitution. So let me just split up our integral. So we're going to integrate from 2 to 11 of 14 minus x dx, separate from the square root of x minus 2. And so here we'll have 14x, oops, put 14 minus, 14x minus x squared over 2 from 2 to 11. And then minus, let's go ahead and do a u substitution on this one. So let u equal x minus 2, du equals 1 dx. So then really just du equals dx. I'm going to change my bounds, plug in the 2, you get 0, plug in the 11, you get a 9, and we're going to have square root of u, which is u to the 1/2, du. And so I know u substitution doesn't really affect this much, but it helps to go through it just in case, when you have something on the inside. But notice 1 in front of x doesn't really affect it too much. So then we're going to add 1 to the exponent, divide by it, so that's going to be 2/3 u to the 3/2 from 0 to 9. Let's minus that, and then over here, we're going to have that 14x minus x squared over 2 from 2 to 11. Let's go ahead and plug this in. So we're going to have 14 times 11 minus 11 squared over 2 minus 14 times 2 minus 2 squared over 2. And that, we're going to be basically adding to it this here, which will be negative 2 over 3, 9 to the 3 halves, minus negative 2 over 3, 0 to the 3 halves. And so 14 times 11, I'm going to need a calculator for this. So 14 times 11 is 198. Minus 121 over 2. Then that minus 28. Is it 198? No, it's 154. Where did I get 198 from? 154. Just thinking something's off with that number. And then minus 2. And then we're going to have plus, we're going to have 9 to the 3 halves. So square root of 9 is 3. Cubed is 27. So that's negative 2/3 times 27 minus 0. So 154 minus 121 over 2 minus 26. And then 27 divided by 3 is 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. So let's go ahead. 154 minus 26 minus 18 is 110 minus 121 over 2. So that's 220 over 2 minus 121 over 2. And that's going to be 99 over 2.